6% commission and the value that was delivered for that. So I give points to you at Inman for having even me here to speak. I'm hoping this is not the cue for you all to rise up with rotten tomatoes that were provided to throw at me. I'm delighted to follow Brian on the topic of sharing, because what I wrote in the next book is about what I see as the benefits of sharing. The problem in the conversation we have today is so much about the dangers of privacy. Danger, danger. They know things about you. And we also have to look at this magnificent tool of publicness we have to share. So I wanted to concentrate on the benefits of sharing. In other industries, I would concentrate on just that and try to beat into the heads the need to share, the value of sharing. I don't need to here because you all are sharers and are good at that. And the industry is surprisingly, very pleasantly, in how you have adapted to these social tools and done some great things. Looking at the agenda, I wish I could have been here for most of the sessions earlier in Connect, because there were great sessions about how you do what you do, and how you do it online and how you understand the tools. What I want to talk about for a few minutes is concentrating on really where the benefits of sharing are as far as I'm concerned, and then I want to come down over like and have you can then yell at me or throw tomatoes at me at close range. So the benefits of sharing, there's a lot of them. Sharing, I think, enables collaboration. If you haven't looked it up, there's a great company called Local Motors that is doing collective design of cars. That sounds insane, I know. It sounds like it was designing the Homer, which was Homer Simpson's car being designed. For those of you who know, it had two bubbles, one for the kids that was sealed so you couldn't hear them, but I think leg irons, and shag carpeting, and as many cup holders as you could want. And by the way, it bankrupted Homer's cousin's car company. Local Motors, because it is open about its design, because it is open about what it does, it enables its customers to come in to say what they really want, to inform the process brilliantly, to get people to design their cars together. And they're producing cars right now, and they're profitable. And by the way, one of the things I met with the CEO of Jay Rogers recently after his book, and he said what's happened here is he thought that he was going to be disrupting the auto industry. What happens instead is the auto industry is coming to him because they recognize that the customers are sometimes better designers than their own designers. And they want to harness that, which I find to be absolutely amazing. So collaboration. Sharing yields trust. When we're open with each other, I think it yields a trust that says we're willing to talk with each other and be open and be ourselves. It disarms the notion of a stranger. It disarms stigmas. Sharing does all kinds of important things. The thing I want to concentrate on right now is the most important thing sharing does is that it makes relationships. It enables relationships, it improves relationships. And I think that's absolutely critical. The first step that I've seen in my business, in newspapers and magazines, with sharing, is that reporters and editors at first, said no way, danger, the people, the unwashed masses. They finally got used to Twitter. They still use it, many of them, strictly for promotion. Look at me, how I'm doing. Let me tell you what I'm doing, what I want to tell you. It's still about messaging. That's not what this is about. Amen. Preach it, sister. My son, Jake, is a sophomore at Tufts. He's a developer, and one of his heroes is Mark Zuckerberg. When I went to interview Mark for the book, I took along Jake. He was my secret weapon, so it was the due reward for what he gives me. And as we were driving up to the headquarters in Palo Alto, Jake said, I think that the wall is something entirely new. And when we went inside, I repeated that to Zuckerberg, and he disagreed. He said, no, people have always signaled what they want to signal about their lives. No, it's not new. But I sided with my son in this over Zuckerberg. Because what Jake said was that the wall is a place where people hold conversations in public. Right? And that made me realize that I was looking at the wall at Facebook and Twitter, for that matter, the wrong way. Old media, old fart that I am, I was looking at them as a way to publish or broadcast content. That's the way I look at the world. Jake was looking at it in terms of conversation. The conversation is about relationships. Conversation is two ways. If you haven't read it, the great, magnificent, seminal book of online culture, The Clue Train Manifesto, says that markets are conversations. Conversations are held by people. We recognize we have real human voices. Okay, so you are people. You are known members of your communities. You, I think, already are starting to do some amazing things with blogs and newsletters and things like that in terms of adding value, back to this notion of value. And you're building relationships, which I think is critical. And I want to make a business proposal to you in a moment. But let's talk about how you do that. I think you've got a lot of good tips today. You just got some from Brian about how to share well. In my book, I have a whole bunch of rules about this. I'll share just one with you, which is the Cabernet rule, which of course is to never blog, tweet, or anything else after you've had too many glasses of Cabernet. I regularly violate that rule. Just reminded backstage about something I did after. One night, I had a few glasses. This is a loophole in the law. I had a few glasses of Pinot Noir. And I was watching the TV, and I was watching how angry I was with the negotiations over our so-called debt crisis. And I came back to my keyboard and plopped my wine glass next to it, and I will censor myself for this room. I typed, F you, Washington. Spell it. Should I just say it?
You're in New York.
All right. So people then encouraged me, which is the wrong thing to do. And I kept going. And then I joked that we ought to start a chant on Twitter. And somebody said, no, you idiot, that's a hashtag. So a hashtag was born. Fuck you, Washington. And people got mad at me because I had not gone after one particular member of Congress or one party or one bad guy in this. But what I learned very quickly was that this was an empty vessel into which people were pouring their own frustrations. And they finished the sentence for me in their own ways. F you, Washington, for not letting me marry who I want to. F you, Washington, for making my parents nervous about paying their bills next month. F you, Washington, for not being able to negotiate any better than a 3-year-old. And that taught me something. And it taught me how to understand Occupy Wall Street a little better when that came along. That too is an empty vessel, an organization without organizers, right? It enables people to instill their anger and their frustration into something and then to kind of negotiate how we end up with what that means. And I thought that was fascinating, but it goes to how much the net is a different universe, in my view, that enables the idea of creating publics. Okay, so now my proposal for you. I also teach entrepreneurial journalism, proving that it's not an oxymoron. And I try to get young journalists to make their own jobs. One of the areas where I think that's most possible, one of the things I'm most excited about, is the idea of hyperlocal. And hyperlocal, to date, is pretty much just an audacious buzzword, with not a lot behind it. There are some amazing sprouts of good hyperlocal content around the country. Right here in this neighborhood, the queen of hyperlocal, I think, is Debbie Gallant at BaristaNet, Montclair, New Jersey. Brooklyn is filled with lots of local blogs. There's sprouts here and there. But the problem with this is a couple things. One, it's just sprouts. There's no consistency. It's everywhere and nowhere. Two is trying to financially support this work. And so this is going off the topic of the book and all that, but you guys do business. So I've been arguing lately that what we need in this, of course, is revenue. We need to figure out new structures. And we can't just sell the same old stuff we sell in media, which is ads. You guys pay for ads, and you know how much they cost. Speaking of a lack of value, you know where that is. So we have to figure out what we're doing. So I've argued that we have to do three things, really, to make hyperlocal work. One, we have to create networks. I said earlier that sharing leads to networks, leads people to get together. Networks are a way to get to critical mass. In the new industries, I think we'll find 3 layers of building. Platforms like Google, entrepreneurial activities like you, and then networks to bring people together, as when you join into a firm because you need critical mass to get services at an inexpensive rate. You already know, I think, the architecture of where the economy heads. So the first thing we have to do to make hyperlocal work is networks. And by the way, why would you want to make it work? I think you want to make it work because it gives you another place to reach people. It gives you another place to market. It gives you competitors to these overpriced newspapers, right? And I say that with trepidation because those overpriced ads pay for the journalism that I support and send students into, but it's reality. Right? My friend Craig Newmark, a friend of mine is working on a project in Brooklyn, and he calculated that in Brooklyn alone, if I get this right, just the real estate, home, job, and services ads, he counted $5 million a year in Brooklyn. It's an incredible scale. Newspapers could never support. And you certainly know where that heads, and you use it too. So, networks, first thing. Second thing is we need to sell different things to the advertisers, to the merchants. Just going in and saying, let me sell you space is the old way of being. What I think we have to do instead is say, how do we help you in your business? A friend of mine runs an eyeglass place where I buy my eyeglasses. I sat down with him at length to understand his business. And he needs to be able to have his Google Place page and his Google search and Facebook and Twitter and all that. So he needs more than buying an ad in some publication. He needs to be able to get help with his relationships to the community, to find new people. Second thing is we need to improve what we sell to local merchants. Now finally I get to the point, wonder why I'm giving you all this. The third point we need is we need sales. And a couple of friends of mine have tried to start local blogging companies by trying to get bloggers to sell ads, and they are really crappy ads. My father is a salesman, a really good salesman. I'm not. I'm a really crappy salesman. That's why I became a journalist. Believe it or not, I'm very shy. I'm not good at sales. So sales is a special skill and talent and personality and experience matters. So I've argued that what we need is not bloggers selling. Newspapers can't sell this stuff because it's too small scale for them. I've argued we need new sales forces to go in to these communities and help these local merchants and sell to them. And my suggestion about this in the last couple of years is that that's you. I'm guessing a few of you might have a little time on your hands these days. And the thing about you is you know your communities. You are known in your communities. You know what it's like to be a small business person. And you know what it's like to be able to try to become digital in this new world out there. You also know how to sell. So my proposal to you, which I'm really seriously happy to talk to anybody about, is whether there are pilot tests we can do in communities, I'm working in New Jersey and Brooklyn, but anywhere, where you productize what these local merchants need in terms of digital help and in terms of advertising help, and see whether or not there are enough opportunities for you to become a new kind of independent sales force. Does that make any sense to anyone? We'll talk about it in a second. But I think that what I'm trying to suggest here is take what you all have learned about the notion of sharing, about what you've done to update yourselves to create relationships in this new world. Move past the idea of just marketing. Move past the idea of saying, here, use me. Here's my inventory, or here's why you should come talk to me, but it's all about you. As you move past that, you really add value to the community. I wonder whether you, individually and as an industry, couldn't become the backbone to new networks and platforms for community members to share with each other. And that if you put yourself in that position, newspapers should have done that, they haven't. You don't think like that. They think about creating content and giving messages and selling content. They don't think about relationships. Facebook realizes that it's about relationships. The industry is about relationships. Content is a tool that lets Facebook and Google and Twitter generate signals about people so that they can better focus and target their content services and advertising. And that's the way I think you and your communities can look at content, local content. If there are local bloggers who are doing this, great. If you write our community, great. I know you're probably not going to be in a position to get all involved in politics and get controversial, and you certainly don't want to portray your town as criminal or bad, so maybe you don't want to do the content.